Good morning. It's Thursday, February 6th, about 6 a.m. Central Time. Long morning here. So I joined CNBC's Worldwide Exchange this morning to discuss the impact of the dollar on tech stocks. So if you'd like to know more about our sister company, Blue Line Capital, where we offer a wide range of wealth management solutions from conservative to moderate to aggressive blends while taking an active strategy approach, send an email to info at Blue Line Futures. Cite that Blue Line Capital here that you'd like to know more. We'll hook you up with our VP of Client Strategy, Jacob, and he can talk to you about some of those wealth management solutions. Now, looking at the precious metals overnight, we do have our first dip in the metals in what seems like forever. Now, how do we just know that this is a dip and not the start of some meaningful correction? Well, time will tell, and we're going to have to shift to the technicals on that, and also what are the headlines that are driving these markets. Now, overnight ranges. You look at the gold market right now, last 28.90.60, down about $2.50. The high of the overnight session was 28.93. The low was 28.70.40. The only interesting thing about that is that you look at what the high of the overnight session was, and it's lower than the previous high and lower than the all-time high. But I think it's a bit too soon to tell here if we're starting any kind of correction in the gold market, and I believe that traders are really looking to aggressively add to any kind of weakness in the gold market. And frankly, you'd have to get significantly lower, I think, in order to break the current trend we're in. Now, March silver tends to be a little bit more volatile. Silver is one of the worst performing commodities overnight here, down about 1.29%, trading at 32.57 last, so it's down 40 cents. So the high was 32.91 and a half, the low was 32.32 and a half. An area that I will be watching is the $32 mark, and then just below that, about 31.88. 31.88 was old resistance, new support. So those are areas where we will look to start to execute back into the silver market. Now, checking on the top overnight headlines and some things that are impacting the commodities markets, there was an interesting headline yesterday, and the question from the headline was, what is the impact from the dollar, gold, FX, and yields? So Trump, the headline was that he wants to get lower 10-year yields, and he's not focused on those Fed cuts. So Treasury Secretary Bassett said that the Trump administration focuses on bringing down the 10-year Treasury yields and not the Federal Reserve's benchmark for short-term interest rates. Bassett believes that expanding energy supply will lower inflation, and the reducing of the budget deficit will bring down the 10-year yields. The administration's goal here is to achieve non-inflationary growth, with Bassett supporting the permanent implementation of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act to continue U.S. economic growth. Now, again, checking on your performance leaders here, because there is a lot of data coming out and a lot of moving headlines here. You do have silver down about 1.32%, palladium down 1.15%, the euro down about 0.5%, the British down about 1%. Gold futures did poke up here and just go positive on the session, but again, quite volatile here, jumping on some of the headlines that are coming out from the Bank of England. So let's just look at a couple things that they just said here a minute ago. They did vote to cut that interest rate policy here. They've reduced rates down to 4.5%. They say that they're reaching some progress on inflation, but it's still a bumpy path here. And I really think that it's going to take a long time before they can get back to their 2% inflation target. So a few things here. They did cut their 2025 growth forecast. So you could see here where the British pound will continue to sell off because of the fact that they've got that declining growth. They are cutting their interest rate, but they're citing that sticky inflation. So you're probably going to see, when you just saw gold futures flash positive, it was against the British pound making new lows. And that's where that person there that's in that pub over in the UK is sitting there talking to his buddy and going to his chap saying that, hey, did you see gold? It just made a new record high. Well, it did against the British pound. So there you have it. Now, looking at today's headlines, we're going to have some weekly jobless claims expected 213,000. We'll have continuous claims. We'll also have non-farm productivity for Q4, your unit labor costs, and then frankly, I'm going to be watching this quite closely, is that natural gas inventory data. Last week was a blowout number here, one of the largest drawdowns I've seen in natural gas inventories. Can it repeat that, and will the cold weather impact it? We saw natural gas correct off its lows. Now, one quick quick note here, a lot of people inquire about various commodities because we are a commodity brokerage firm here, and we saw coffee soar to a record $4 mark as supply fears really had powered that rally. So we saw coffee prices, they've doubled over the past year. They've topped $4 a pound, and it's concerns about tight global supplies. So Brazil and Vietnam, we expect to see a pullback in those stockpiles to 25-year lows. That's according to the USDA. Now, shifting back to your metals markets, a lot of people were taking positions off the board here yesterday. You saw another all-time high in the gold market. You saw a thrust upward on $33 on the silver market. The ETF funds cut about 60,000 troy ounces of gold from their holdings in that last trading session here yesterday. That was about 10% of the amount of ETF holdings were bought year to date. You go to silver, it was 3.15 million troy ounces of the holdings were cut in the previous session. This year's total net holdings is about 10.8. So it was about a quarter of the people in silver ETFs cut those off here. So looking at the technicals again, so on the gold market, the first major pocket support that I would be looking at is 28.56 down to 28.50. You go below that, it's going to be 28.38 and 28.20. Long-term support is going to come in at that 2800 down to 27.94. That's going to be your first major test of psychological support. We break below that 27.67. A close below that takes us back into this big consolidation phase. Remember, gold was in about $150 consolidation phase that seemed to go on, and many of you I was watching were playing that range here back and forth, and that range had started back in late October, dipping down to the November lows and then having its ebbs and flows as we got through the election and the year end. Silver seeing the same kind of thing where we're coming from this 29.25 as your double bottom. You go above that, it's going to be the $30 mark, 30.67 and 31.88. I think that those are your major levels out there. Now, we'll have some movement here in the U.S. equity markets as we have Amazon reporting after the bell. So you guys got any questions, be sure to sign up for the Metals Edge. We're putting a little bit more details on that here as far as some levels here, as far as some actual trading ideas. And then, of course, we offer a number of different reports, everything on the energies, the grains, livestock, you name it, we got it in the S&P 500. So get any questions, you can reach out to me, 312-858-7303. Remember that futures and option trading does involve risk of loss, and it may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck and good trading.